We're in Switzerland again, or the other home of ski cross, and it's the end of the World Cup season in the discipline, with the last stage before the final in Italy. A few days ago our racers met up in Grindelwald, Switzerland, and today it's Meiringen. After events around the globe where the weather has been terrible, Switzerland has been much kinder to us. Today we'll be racing in sunshine again. The Meiringen course will call upon all the sliding skills of our competitors, for there are few terrifying jumps, but instead some tricky banks and flat sections that could be difficult when you're trying to fend off an attack from a rival. As for the stakes and the overall rankings, there are two riders who have everything to win here. Among the girls, French skier Ophélie David has a serious lead and has just landed a second consecutive title at the mythical X Games. Among the men, the Czech pin-up boy Thomas Kraus also seems set to take a trophy, but you never know. This penultimate stage of the World Cup has visually lived up to all its promises. The excitement of four skiers going head-to-head, a flatter course, perhaps less impressive than earlier courses, but also technically more difficult and unforgiving. It's the slide specialists more than the jumpers who will really appreciate this course. And since we're in Switzerland, let's begin by meeting an eminent member of the Swiss ski cross team, the crazy Andreas Steffen.
Ski cross is a young sport that was unknown to alpine skiing.
It's a race with 4 or 6 riders who go head-to-head. A system of elimination by heats, and a course made up of bends and difficult banks, rollers or whoops, big jumps and bumps. It's a complete and fun type of skiing. Riders like it because it's full of action and you have a real feeling of racing against other competitors rather than against the clock. All the Swiss skiers in the national ski cross team have come from traditional alpine skiing and are all very good skiers, some with a long string of victories, some with less. For ski cross you must be capable of mixing alpine skiing, as in the giant slalom or downhill, with a special way of skiing in ski cross. And it's the start of the men's first quarter-final, and we find a few old friends in the lineup. The Czech Thomas Kraus in blue, Hirumi Takisawa from Japan in green, the Austrian Patrick Kohler in red, and the Canadian Christopher Del Bosco in yellow. In a very flat start, it's the experienced Kraus who takes the lead. If he wins this stage, it's certain the Czech will carry off the Crystal Globe even before the final in Italy. The man from Japan in green, Takizawa, is currently in the qualifying second spot. Behind him come Del Bosco and then Kohler. Don't forget, only the first 2 from each heat will qualify for the next round. In the front, there's quite a scrap going on, and Kraus comes very close to falling. Takizawa fails in his attack, and in doing so leaves the door open for Del Bosco and Kohler. As the finishing line approaches, it's Kraus still in the lead, but Del Bosco is now second with Kohler third. Takisawa has slipped to last place, which is really hard for him. Right at the end, Del Bosco snatches the lead from Kraus, so both qualify while the other two are simply out.
Qualify for the semi-final.
In the lineup for the men's second quarter-final, we have the Swiss Alois Mani in red, the Austrian Andreas Matt in green, the Norwegian Audun Grønnevad in blue, and the American Errol Kerr in yellow. Once again, a good start is imperative, but Andreas Matt doesn't get that and falls right at the start. He takes Alois Mani with him, who in turn almost upsets Grønnevad in blue. The Norwegian is slowed but doesn't fall. All this is to the advantage of Kerr, who's on the outside and manages to stay out of the collective fall. So Grønnevad has now realised that there are only 2 of them left in the race and decides to take it cool and not risk a fall. For him, it's like a Sunday outing with the family now. This easy race could mean he'll be fresher for the subsequent heats. We'll see. Kerr, however, puts on a show and continues his run like a little bomb. So both riders go through to the semi-finals. The American team is still recovering from the shock of the injury to Casey Puckett, Mr. X Games, when in the quarter-finals he fell when he was in the lead as he flew over a jump. He hit the run really hard and injured his shoulder, and everyone feared the worst. But that's the inherent risk with many snow sports. In the men's third quarter-final, we have the Swiss Andreas Steffen in red, the Frenchman Robin J.C. Kenny Lennell in green, and the Canadian duo Stanley Heyer and Davy Barr yellow. And it's a very tight start, but after the first whoops, the Canadian duo have made a strong claim for the first 2 spots. Behind them is Steffen, then Lennon in last place. The Meiringen course takes about a minute to complete. For the moment, it's still higher ahead of his compatriot Bar, but Stefan is moving up on Bar, ready to challenge him for that second qualifying spot. Lennel is still battling and hasn't given up yet, though unfortunately he lost a bit on one of the jumps. But in front, Heyer is not letting up, while behind him Bar is hanging on to second spot despite being under constant pressure from Stefan. But at the finish, there's no change in the positions, and it's going to be Canada who will have at least 2 races in the semi-finals.
Here you go, guys! Blue and yellow qualifying Stan Heyer and Davy Bar provisionally.
The last men's quarter-final finds 2 Frenchies in the lineup, Xavier Zazakoun in red and Ted Picard in yellow, along with American Jakob Fiala in blue and the Swede Lars Lewin all in green. And it's Lars Lewin with the best start, and at the first bend he's closely followed by Ted Picard, then Koen in 3rd position and Fiala in 4th. The first 2, Lewin and Picard, are setting a terrific pace, and despite the talent of Koen and Fiala, there's a gap opening up. The main battle will now take place between the leaders. Both are going flat out with only a few centimetres separating them.
Current leader in this last quarter-final run.
Picard tries to take Lewin on a jump, but the Swede is wise to the tricks of ski cross and he manages to maintain his lead. So it's still Picard in 2nd position, but now Fiala has closed the gap a little. But it's too little too late, and it's Lewin and Picard who eventually go through to the semi-finals, while Koen and Fiala join the spectators. Now, before seeing how the women get on in their semi-finals, let's take a detour to see one of the stars of the Canadian team, Julia Murray.
I think there's a lot of European riders doing very well in ski cross just because they've moved right in from ski racing, and there's a lot of great mountains to build ski cross courses in Europe too, so they get a lot of practice. Olympic Games are going to be in my hometown, Whistler, BC, in Canada, and that's just 2 years' time, so there's not very much time, but it's really exciting for all us Canadians, and the team's really new, and everyone's really excited about it all. It's not too much of a pressure for all of us, just because we're out here to have a good time and ski the best we can. Olympics is kind of another race, but up another level, and it's just...
Now let's go to the start of the first women's semi-final. In red is the Australian Jenny Owens, in green the Japanese girl Noriko Fukushima, in blue the Canadian Julia Murray, and finally Sasa Farik from Slovenia in yellow. So a representative from 4 different continents, something quite rare. And it's the Australian Owens who grabs first spot at the top of the run, with Sasa Farik in 2nd place. At the first bend, the Canadian Julia Murray is lying 3rd, with Fukushima in 4th place. Very quickly, the Australian cracks under pressure from Farik and is passed by the girl from Slovenia and then by the Canadian Julia Murray. Fukushima remains at the back of the field and seems out of it for the moment. Towards the end of the course, Farik extends her lead over her rivals, but there's a battle going on for 2nd place as Owens moves up on Murray. But the Australian is unable to get past Murray and eventually even loses her 3rd place. So it's Farik and Murray into the final and Owens and Fukushima into the runners-up final. A closely fought race, just how we like them.
And Julia qualify for the big final, while Noriko Fukushima and Jenny Owens